Hello and welcome everybody to this webinar with Gecko and Google. I'm Nilsson, I'm the director of Gecko, and we will keep this fairly short and swift to less than an hour. We will start with Mark Grady from Google, providing a general overview of where we are, what has been happening over the past half year or so. And then we will be looking at an overview of existing and upcoming hardware for meeting solutions. This will be followed by an overview from Nick Escow at Google on recent and upcoming feature updates, which will be followed by Q&A at the very end. Right, so over to Mark Grady, of course, from Google.
Thanks, Oki, and I think a big thank you to you and the Gecko team for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Grady. I'm the head of channel and sales in EMEA for the Google Meet hardware business. So I've been involved since the launch in 2014 of Chromebox for meetings around Google's video conferencing products. So we just want to use this. I'll use the starting part of this before I hand over on the hardware to Asus. Really just to talk about where we are with the vision of this. And I think the first thing to say is that, we want to make sure today that we give you a good understanding of what's happening. We get a lot of questions being asked at the moment about what does the future of a workplace hold? What does it mean? And I think this is something that obviously is going to be an ongoing conversation with the office and the dynamics of it. And I think the importance of this is that I think we'll be back with Gecko to make regular updates around this, because to me, what we're seeing is that things are shifting, but also people's perception of the office is changing. And a good example of that, I was talking this morning to a customer in Austria, and they're questioning, well, what does an office look like for 300 people if most of my workforce are happy being at home? They want to be in the office 1 or 2 days a week. They don't want to be back in the office 4, 5 days a week. So I want to give you sort of like really a concise and detailed update on the meeting room offering, and really also alongside myself and Nick Escow, who'll be talking to later on, a clear understanding on the future of Google Meet hardware. Now, if we move to the next slide, you'll see that we have made some changes, and I think this is really important as you work with Gecko to go through this. Is that yes, there's in-office meeting room hardware, but that has fundamentally sort of like shifted and changed. I'm presenting to you right now in my house. I'm on a Chrome base for meetings, and I'm using it, and really, it's fantastic, because people say to me, well, what do you gain on a laptop? And I would say, well, the fact is I've got my laptop to one side right now that I'm looking at notes on. I've got also the ability to be more expressive because I've got a bigger screen, a great big i7 processor in the Chrome base to do that. But what we've also done is we've obviously improved the experience on Android. We've added noise cancellation features, and we've also added Nest Hub Max and Chromecast to this. And I think the thing I would say is that these devices are not enterprise. They haven't got fleet management. But what we are seeing is there is an interest in, for example, I would like to actually have some of my conversations on a Nest Hub Max when I'm at home, that I'd like to be able to have that connection. And we are seeing, that we're going to work on that. So really, from the personal device right through to the meeting room, we're still going to have that technology traveling with us. It's just now extended out. And as Oki said at the start, that's been a big change over the last 6 months. Again, as I said, Google Meeting Solutions do bring people together. And I think, again, if you're talking to people in the business about what this means, it's that shift that goes across. And I think a big part of that shift is that you have the phone, you have the laptop, and you're going to see, even I'm quite excited, that we have the likes of 5G coming on the Pixel phone. What does that mean for Meet? But also, you are going to see that this is what holds people together even more, is video calls. The concept of things like wormholes, so that teams can talk to each other, not just in meetings, is going to become very important. And I also think about it from a point of view of the meeting room itself, that in the past, we would expect 80 or 90% of the people that you wanted to be in the meeting room, be in the meeting room. That's probably turning on its head to being 20 or 30%. So you need great microphones. You need good sound from the room for people to be able to join. Now, moving into this in sort of like around the workplace and how it's evolving. Well, it was changing anyway before COVID.
And I think the fact was that we were working more away from our desks than we ever had before. Probably travel was higher than it is now, but also the core productivity apps and data are in the cloud. So if you have your G Suite with Gecko and you are doing that, it's in the cloud. It will follow you around. But I think also with employees wanting a connected and collaborative workspace, the use of Google Meet effectively bridges some of those things as well. I think it's very interesting how we work as a team, but also how we socialize, how we're using it as a consumer. These things are all going to filter back into the workplace as well. Within Google, our use of video conferencing has gone up exponentially. We still have about 20,000 meeting rooms in the Google business globally. The video conferencing units is probably now upwards of about 24,000. What we've seen is we still have 4,000 units. The one I'm on, the one Nick's on, still working from home. And we're recording like record levels of minutes every day and per month as well. And for us, it's what keeps the business going. It was the heartbeat of a global business. But what we're seeing increasingly is that's applying also to any business. And I think the fact is that some of the features we've launched, and I just want to touch on these at the start, is that we want to make sure there's conversations that you're having can be very easy. And like I said, we want to make it easy. You're going to see that the Meet button gets easier to start conversations, whether you're on your Android or your iOS device, or if you just find a room that's empty in an office to use. So again, these features all help make things more productive as well. Now, the other thing that I would say is that video has become the new standard. I think the resistance in video has been changed fundamentally. We're working from home. We're pitching to customers. We're talking internally for the first time. It is a new standard. And whether we like it or not, it's having a ripple effect that even hopefully when COVID is gone, we will be looking at things differently. I was talking to Oki about this on a presentation last week when we're talking to people being invited to hotels for sales gatherings. What we're seeing now is that people are saying, well, do I need to bring 150 people across Europe to have 5 hours with them in a room, or is the video good enough? A good example today is that Gecko is making this recording of the presentation. For somebody who hasn't joined, there isn't the need to go and visit the Gecko office or for Gecko to go on site and have that session as well. So it is a new standard. And whether we're not looking at this probably from the same point of view, I can actually take this slide and put a different slant on it. About 15% of the UK's workforce was working from home pre-COVID. And we do think that will, in the end of the day, that will probably double. We see there are some areas where there is productivity gains. There are also cost savings as well. The cost of a desk in downtown London, downtown Oslo, downtown Stockholm is expensive. But also what we're finding is because of that seamlessness in terms of the experience that travels with you, you can work from wherever as well. And I think the fact is that you should not be trying to prejudge where you or your business will end up on this. But the new office is going to need more meeting space. There's no doubt that actually, whether you'll have 500 people in an office or actually the 500 desks becomes 300 desks and more meeting rooms, you want to be able to make sure that everybody's represented. And I think that with Google Meet hardware, whether it's a Jamboard to brainstorm an idea or whether it's a full in-room kit, you want people to be involved in the business. You don't want people to fall aside. And this is the piece of it that I think is very interesting. Google Meet can provide that glue that holds things together within that. Now, the other thing that we have seen as a trend over the last 6 months is also around bigger and better large meetings. I think the fact is live stream for our enterprise users has been priceless in terms of what it can do. The ability to talk across a domain, a CEO can put their vision across. It's very important. It's very easy to use. And what we see also is that senior leadership in businesses wants to find ways to be able to keep talking to people, to keep the messages, keep people on message. It isn't in an office anymore. It's going to be around those meetings. So we see live streams being a great feature. Gecko and my team have been working on a number of ways that we can improve that. And we actually have a whole separate track around how to take events online and provide a sort of world-class experience. Now, the thing I would say here is that it might sound odd, but with a live stream, you want to get it right. If you're talking to 20,000 employees, your CEO or your CFO will want to make sure it's really good. And again, there's a range of ways that can be done. We have the enterprise experience with the Google Meet hardware, but also think about things also that could make a meeting work well. Lighting, a good headphones, a good webcam. All of these things help increase the sort of like ability to be part of the meeting and contribute as well. One other thing that I was going to say, I'm just scrolling on here, is also to mention that all of this is backed up as well by centralized room management and analysis. And now, when you invest in Google Meet hardware, we're adding more and more dashboards for information. We've just announced that you are going to be able very soon to turn on the admin console and track the number of people in a meeting room. That is obviously your decision from the grounds of privacy and what you want to do, but we also understand that as capacities change, not everyone reads the invitation that the room for 10 is a room for 3. Again, the other thing that we see here is that you want to be able to show more information to the business, to facilities, to teams around what works for meetings, so that maybe even meeting rooms could be used at other hours, staggered start times, different bookings to do that. And the G Suite Administration Console offers the chance to do that as well. All of this is backed up by Google security around this. We are effectively right now in a Chrome session, and Chrome is very, very secure, but we also are browser-based. We work with Firefox, Edge, and Safari, and not the need to install a client. So our message on browsers is as long as that browser is approved and it's tried and tested and it's got the security that our competitors actually also benchmark on as well, you'll be fine. Everything is encrypted in this session today. The data that we're using is encrypted using SSL and SRTP. And external guests can join via invite only. We will keep that feature to ensure security. And finally, just to be very clear, Google doesn't record or store meetings on local devices, nor with meetings. Meetings recorded by participants are encrypted in the cloud, and you always own your own get data. Google never processes the data on these calls for advertising as well. The other thing to mention, video meetings and cloud recordings are encrypted by default. So all the data in this meet is encrypted in transit. And whether you're on an Android tablet or iOS and in the meeting room, we make sure that it's encrypted. It's got really good security. One caveat, if you want to keep security at maximum level, if you're joining a meeting by phone, audio is carried by a telephony network, and you would have to check with them on whether that is encrypted or not. So that probably passes me through the first section of this. I think I'm handing over now to hear about the hardware. Oki, is it over to you or is it to...
It is indeed. It's to me, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I'll be around at the end for questions as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed, Mark. That was very good, actually, and very insightful. So we'll now be covering the current hardware setup and lineup as such, and we'll be starting with Asus, whom we know and love, of course, really, who have been around for as long as Mark has been around, really, with Google Meet and CFM and everything as such. So as you probably know, then there has been a recent change in the hardware as such, really, for Asus and for others. And of course, it's been going now from the Chromebook 3/CS65 to the Google Meet compute system. And in relation to that, there's also been an additional piece of kit, really. So there's now a starter kit, which is basically starting, well, as a starter kit. And it has not got a MIMO panel, but has got a remote control. So it's starting at a lower price point. So what you will also find in this is that the camera has changed really from what it was. So it's now a Huddly IQ as opposed to the Huddly Go as it was. So it's basically for rooms of up to 8 people. So the small medium room is essentially the same kit. However, the remote has been swapped out for a MIMO panel. And one of the advantages really with this is that you do then have the HDMI in, which is useful for in-room presentations or for presentations to the Hangout as such or Google Meet. Right, and then for the large room, then it's the same kit essentially. However, the camera has then been swapped out for the Logitech PTZ Pro 2. So this is for the larger spaces, of course, here we do have better optics, of course, here for the camera. And also what we would typically see in situations like these is really that there are additional speaker mics being added on. So as you probably know, then you can have up to 5 of those. Okay, so a closer look at the Meet compute system. So it is a redesigned kind of setup or piece of hardware as such, really. So it's completely redesigned, really, but it has got a different form factor. So it's easily mountable by the magnetic wall mount and the table stand. And one of the other main differences really from the previous generation of hardware is now that the end of life of the auto update is June 2028. As you're probably aware, the Chromebox 3 has got an end of life of June 2025. And the next one actually coming up now is the CN62, which is June next year. So in case you have any kind of installations at the moment, which might be sort of worth looking at, then please come to us and we can sort of discuss various options for moving forward. A closer look at the remote control. So it's essentially the same as you had before with the previous generation of hardware. It's a slightly different form factor or kind of slightly different design. Essentially, the functions and features are the same. And one of the main differences is that the batteries, they are now AAA and easier to replace essentially. The previous ones, they were the small button batteries. Okay. As mentioned, the Huddly IQ, it's a good form factor, and of course, then you do have it coming, or you can have the mounts as well for the various screens as well, of course, right? So, and we do have an opportunity for ACES as well, actually, a try before you buy, which has recently been launched. So it was only launched in the past few days. So if this is of interest to you, then please take note of the URL or scan the QR code. And whilst we are the fulfillment partner, then the kind of decision making on who qualifies and who does not is actually through ACES and Google. But please do register if this is of interest to you. Right, moving on to Logitech. They of course do have a very impressive lineup as well, and starting with the personal kind of devices as such, really, with the headphones and the personal webcams, which is really particularly of interest now in times like these as well, of course, really. So if you do work from a laptop, then it could be good to actually add on a good headset, as Mark was referring to earlier on, have a good webcam as well, of course, really. So otherwise, in the Google Meet hardware, then you do have a lineup as well with Logitech from the small, medium, and large room. So the small room is with the all-in-one meetup, and then you do have the rally camera in the medium and large room. Similar to what was mentioned earlier, then this bundle has also got a compute system. However, in this case, the manufacturer is CTL, and essentially the form factor is the same as was mentioned earlier. Okay. The Logitech Tap is a good form factor as such, quite a sleek implementation or piece of hardware as such. And of course, on this one as well, you do have the HDMI in, obviously. Right. In addition, we do have a Jamboard mount for the meetup. So in cases where you do have a Jamboard as the only device, for instance, in a room, then the meetup is a good alternative to actually mount on top of the Jamboard. Even though the Jamboard comes with built-in speakers, microphones, and camera, for the slightly larger spaces, then the meetup is a good addition. Right. However, we do have a further exciting piece of information actually regarding Logitech, and that is the Logitech Switch. Has recently been launched and made available, and for interoperability, it's really rather good actually. So it basically sort of sits alongside, you could say, really alongside your existing kit in a room. So even though your room is dedicated for Google Meet, with Logitech Switch, you could bring in your laptop or your Chromebook as such and temporarily take over the infrastructure in a room. So for interoperability, it's a very, very easy and straightforward implementation actually. So we have one which we have tried ourselves really. So basically, you just come into the room, connect your Switch connector with, well, in my case, then the USB-C, and instantaneously you take over the room. And on your laptop or Chromebook, you could run a video conference platform of a different brand or platform as such. And you just take over the room and run the infrastructure like the cameras, the microphones, and the speakers, and it's all very seamless. Right, from Logitech we have a Kickstart program. So again, if this is of interest to you, if you believe that you would actually have 10 or more rooms going in the next 6 months, then please register. And again, the decision making is with Google and Logitech in this instance, really. So again, please take a note of the URL and scan the QR code. Alternatively, both for Asus and for Logitech, we do have these references on our website as well. For anyone not having looked at the interactive room guide, I would recommend it highly, actually. So it is a good indicator and a set of tools actually for designing your ideal meeting room space. So not only is it good from an AV perspective, but it's also ideal actually and gives really good kind of indicators and information to architects and such really in terms of lighting and for kind of soundproofing and acoustics and such in a room. So it is a good kind of finger pointer really in terms of what is appropriate kind of layout and dimensions really for the kit in a room as such really. And also, I mean, it does sort of highlight some of the some of the things which are actually being adopted within Google, for instance, and which is a practical standard in any room they're setting up. For instance, you would always have the camera pointing at the door at Google, for instance, so no one can actually come into an existing conference running without actually being seen, for instance. So if you do have a conference call running or a Hangout Meet running, then anyone entering or leaving will always be seen on the camera. Right, so summary of the current promotions. We do have a promotion on the existing Asus Chromebox 3, which are sort of greatly reduced. So it's a good opportunity to pick up those, and as I mentioned, then these do have an end of life of June 2025. Chrome-based meetings, we currently have £50 off, and in addition to what we actually listed here on the page, if for any device purchased during Q4, if there is a warranty repair, you would actually have your money back on the device. So you not only have the device obviously repaired, but you would actually have your money back on the device as well. Jamboard, currently during Q4, on the red Jamballs, there is a 2-for-1. So again, it's a good opportunity to pick up anything which you might have been considering for some time. And a very quick summary. So we'll summarize this in the follow-up to this webinar as well. Okay. Right, moving on to Series 1 from Google and Lenovo. Very exciting to have a new hardware partner, obviously, actually coming into this. And basically having a new look at some of the things actually sort of going into the meeting rooms. So we will be sort of talking a bit further about some of these details, but without further ado, we'll go straight into a very short video.
People around the world are meeting together over video more than ever, but it doesn't always feel like we're working together. That's why we're introducing new Series 1 Google Meet room kits that are beautifully and thoughtfully designed to make video meetings approachable and immersive so everyone gets a seat at the table. With Google Edge TPUs built in, the revolutionary new Smart Audio Bar delivers True Voice, our proprietary studio-grade audio isolation that removes distracting sounds, crystallizes human voices, and modulates volume levels so every voice is clear from anywhere in the room. To ensure people are seen as clearly as they're heard, high-resolution video from the Smart Camera is processed with Google AI to find and smoothly frame everyone in the room automatically. With Google-grade security built in, these kits continually improve with automatic system updates. They work with the Google apps and services you already use, and the familiar, intuitive admin experience makes it easy to manage your fleet from anywhere. With only one power source, the elegant single cable architecture cleanly connects components that are engineered to last. These new meeting room kits are as effortless to install as they are to use, with flexible configurations to fit almost any size room. Every detail is designed to make distances and distractions disappear, so that working together truly feels like working together.
So there you have it. It's a very exciting time actually to be around and seeing the kit actually being introduced. So you will get more information, of course, really, as things are becoming more available, really, and in terms of timing of the equipment being available in the UK as well. Right, so the smart audio bar, very, very clever implementation in terms of true voice being heard without distraction. So basically, you have noise cancellation as such, and basically making sure that everybody, regardless of where they are being picked up properly and appropriately. And as you can see here, the various kind of layouts, they get tuned automatically by the hardware. So you do have, again, small, medium, and large rooms, and you do have different kind of dimensions, of course, really, of the equipment actually going into the respective area. And regardless, then it's basically being tuned as you implement and set it up. Smart camera. It's from Hudley, who we know from before, obviously, and some of the existing technology has been further developed with the AI, sort of framing everybody coming into the room. So basically, you have everybody covered, really, who are in the room, really. So as you can see here from the quick GIF, okay. So you do have two sizes of cameras, really, for the small, medium, and for the large room, okay. And again, you do have a compute system. It's a different form factor to what we have seen before. And what is very exciting with this, of course, as has already been touched on, the cabling is different, of course, from this, or on this, actually. So there's only one device in the whole setup which is actually being powered, and everything else is power over Ethernet. So you will see on this slide here in particular, of course, the kind of ports available on the device itself. So you will also find that the ports are color-coded for easy installation. And in terms of the touch controller, it's from MIMO, who we also know from before. And it's a very sleek device. And one of the things that you do find with this is that there's a single cable only. Of course, I mean, basically that is the power over Ethernet, of course, really come into effect. And what you will find is that the HDMI in is straight to the compute system in this instance. And of course, then it is enabled with Google Assistant, really, for minimizing the amount of touch points, really, in a room as such. Really. So you can basically start and stop your meetings and such, really, by voice. We will also have various accessories added onto this, really, for carts, for mobile setup in rooms, if you like. And also bespoke wall mounts for the various kind of peripherals as such. So some of the main differentiators with the Series 1 is True Voice, as we touched on, the Smooth Zoom, the participant presence detection, which we have not been talking about, but basically it will enable you to keep count on who's actually in a room as such, really, and can be used for statistics and everything as such, really, afterwards. And of course then power over Ethernet, okay? And it comes in two colors, and as I mentioned, you do have a small room, medium, and large room. So for the small room, you will not have a touch panel, but you will actually have a remote, and it's chargeable, comes with a cradle, so you'd always know, hopefully, where it is actually in the room. And for the medium room, you would have the touch panel and an additional mic pod. And for the large room, you would have an additional audio bar and two mic pods all in all, okay? Right, so Nick, I hope that you are ready, because now I will hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the roadmap, what we've delivered recently, and what's coming up in the next couple of months, or the next 3 or 4 months. If you want to click onto the next one, please. Yeah, so already launched on where we've moved to the upgraded from, we used to have, I think it was a 5x5 view initially when we launched the sort of Grady punch view, as it's called. We now moved to the 49 tile view. There's also the option to turn on self view, so you can see yourself in the grid as well. And we're generally making the whole layout experience much more customizable over the coming months. And the grid views will be coming to the room hardware in the next quarter, basically. Next one, please. Thank you. So, and as you've seen probably, if you use Gmail at all, that essentially Meet has become a part of Gmail, and that's a process that's happening now that we've moved to Workspace now. Everything is coming together. So you know that's going to mean within your Gmail now you'll have a tab for the mail, for chat, for video, and for files, and it just allows you to collaborate a lot more efficiently in the same space. You know, move from chat into a video call and then back out and share files, and just have everything centered around one location basically. And also recently launched is the ability to essentially launch a Jamboard session from within Meet. So during the meeting, you can just click on the button to start whiteboarding, and everyone who's been invited to that call will be added into the same session. You can set their level of access, all that sort of thing as well, and basically everyone will just receive a notification. You can all jump into the same Jam session and collaborate on, you know, visually on the whiteboard at the same time as you're having your video conference.
Okay, and be prepared now, Nick. Now you have a short video.
Ooh.
Thanks for meeting so late. Can you see me okay? Hey, thanks for meeting me so late. I wanted to catch you before your presentation.
And there you go. That's low light mode, which incidentally as well speaks to sort of partially to sort of the depth that Google go to with video conferencing, because it's also helps with diversity, like darker skin tones don't show up as well with the standard sort of video picture. So low light mode helps to make that more equitable going forward, as well as making it easy to take the call from from outside when there's not much light essentially as well. And that's already launched on mobile and is coming to web later this year. And then the cloud noiser essentially is basically machine learning noise cancellation. So it will prioritize voice and basically remove as much background noise as possible. So really out on web and mobile. And if you haven't basically tried it out, it's very, very effective. There's a very good video on YouTube done by basically one of the creator of the application Meet, Serge Lachapelle, which is well worth looking at. So it was a really good demo. Next one, please. And Q&A, as is being used during this call. Essentially, it just allows you to ask questions, anyone to ask a question during a call, and then allows the moderator to choose when to answer them, and other participants in the call can upvote questions, all that sort of thing. Next one, please. Polling, again, has been used, but it just basically allows you to set up a poll before the call. You add the question, add the answers, and then anyone in the call can vote on that. And when the call finishes, the meeting organizer will also get a sheet made available straight after in the invite, which will show the results of the polling. And on to what's coming up in the near future. So in the next quarter, we're basically just, essentially it's an ongoing process, but just to clean up the UI, to keep things simple. Meet is all about the simplicity and ease of use. We try to keep things down to one tap to join the call. And when you're in the call, for everything to be as clear and easy to use as possible. And so chat to present block again. Especially especially important in educational sort of purposes. It allows you to prevent people from using chat and presenting their screen during a call, and you can turn that on and off and toggle the ability during the call. And background blur and replace, which I think is launching now, or it's probably launched already. But it essentially allows you to either blur your background or to replace it with an image. And that's coming very shortly.
Just for information, actually, I mean, basically, it's now back on with the Chrome OS again. Actually, it's back on since yesterday. Okay.
Okay, good to know. Thanks very much. Yeah. And breakout rooms, which are launching very shortly, basically allow you to create up to 99 sub meetings that you can move people in and out of. So If you want to, have a breakout session, if you want to, people to ask questions in smaller groups and then bring them back into the main meeting, that's all possible. Things, and also things like green rooms before a virtual event, that sort of thing. It's all possible with breakout rooms. And attendance tracking, which is worth pointing out as well, with the switch to workspace, the licensing structure has changed slightly. So attendance tracking is only going to be available, I think, on Business Plus and Enterprise. But what it allows you to do is the meeting organizer can see live how many people are on the call, essentially, and then after the call finishes, they'll have a report that's available, which shows when people joined, how long they're on the call for, all those sort of metrics. For the first probably 2 or 3 releases of the operating system, that's going to be available as a report as a CSV file after the call. But eventually that will be built into the console and into the calendar, and it will be a much more sort of embedded experience. And this is what the CSV file essentially will look like that you'll receive after the call, just to show you all the information as clearly as possible. And the hand raising that's launching very shortly again just allows you during a call, so if someone wants to ask a question, they can raise their hand. The organizer can see that, and then they can choose when to respond to that, basically. And coming in the future, I think I'm not totally sure when it will come in. It might be next quarter or into next year. But essentially, it's the ability to include Meet in the editors, which are docs, sheets, and slides. So that when you're collaborating on a doc, rather than having to switch between tabs or look between 2 different screens, you can have everything combined in one place, and it's all part of that effort with Workspace to make everything much more centralized and easy to use. And another feature to mention as well is obviously we've designed lots of different sort of counter abuse and security features into Meet, but in the occasion that anything does happen and you need to raise a report, you can do it using this, which we built in and will be available early into next quarter, and that will send the information straight back to Google. And yeah, multi-language caption support. So I think internally we're just, starting with Spanish just at the moment, but that's very shortly it's going to be available. I think in initials, I think it's 6 languages. So essentially you'll be able to just choose a caption language and see those captions in the call, and that will in turn lead on to live translation in the near future. I think that's back to Yoki for the Q&A.
Thank you very much indeed for that. So we do have a number of questions actually. So let's see if we can actually start having a look at those then. So can you elaborate a bit more actually, Nick, on the breakout rooms, for instance? Can it be done? Can it be used with the third parties as well?
Third parties, you mean?
When inviting third parties to an email, to a Google Meet. So basically outside your own domain, I expect.
Anyone. Well, basically, once someone joins the call, then you can move them into a breakout room, but they're not available as separate meeting entities themselves. So you can't give someone a meeting code to join a breakout room. They need to join the original call, and then you would move them into whichever breakout room. But anyone who's invited to the call can use the facility, basically.
Okay, and have you got any information as to whether you can actually set up the breakout rooms prior to the call, or would it be done as the hangout is starting?
You can set them up. Essentially, as soon as you create the calendar event, that call is live. So if you go into the call and make configuration changes, that they should persist until someone joins the call at the time when it's in the calendar.
Okay. And in terms of availability as such on the breakout rooms, do you believe, or do you know whether it is only for education, or would it also be for enterprise in Q4?
As far as I'm aware, it's not an it's not an education only launch. So I'll have to confirm that. But as far as I'm aware, they should be coming on all domains in Q4.
All right, and one question regarding the noise cancellation. That is for enterprise only, right? In the new kind of setup as such, right? So, is there any information as to whether it will be generally available if a person is starting the Hangout, that person is an enterprise? Would it then be available for the call as such, or would it be dependent on who or what plan the individual user is at, actually? So if I'm at the enterprise and I instigate the call, I do have noise cancellation. But if, for instance, Unique, you would only be on business or sort of basic, would you actually have benefit of me being on enterprise and have noise cancellation, or would that not be available?
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, as far as I'm aware on that, the noise cancellation sits behind the background of the user's license. So
Okay.
you have to remember,
user.
because just as probably a little bit of extra context, is the reason it's on enterprise is that the algorithms that are used for noise cancellation are within the cloud. So it pulls down to the cloud. Unlike the blurring on the devices that those who are using blurring here are, that's done on the device. That's why there is a difference between the two, because there's the reliance on the cloud to do that.
Okay.
So my understanding is if you join from an Android phone and you're on a business package, you will not have noise cancellation.
Okay, all right, noted. Then we have a question regarding the audio quality on the Jamboard. If there are kind of requirements which go beyond the, let's say, native sound qualities of the Jamboard itself, then we would recommend either the meetup or the speaker mic, really, which is also, of course, connectable really by a USB. So what was not clear earlier was that if you do actually want to have better sound qualities, you can have either the meetup, or you could have the speaker mic, the square speaker mic, and you could also actually combine that with the a Huddly camera to put on top as well. There is a mount for that as well, of course, right? So, but if you have any requirements, then please come back to us and we can look at various possibilities for you. We have a question regarding AI framing on the Jamboard. As far as I know, it does not work on the built-in camera on the Jamboard. However, there might be a possibility it could potentially work with the Huddly, because Huddly does seem to be working with AI built in with the camera itself. We have not tested it, but we could have a look at it potentially, right? It's a wishy-washy answer, but that's basically as good as it gets at this point. Would it be possible to take over the room on a Series 1 setup in a similar way to the Logitech system with Logitech Switch? That I would expect. We have not tested it, of course, but we will have a system or Series 1 as well, obviously, right? So I'm sure we'll test that one as well, actually. Looking at how Switch is implemented, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, you probably know more than I do, actually, but having set up the Switch, then I would expect it to work, but we will verify and come back to you, okay? All right, so I think that's probably all that we could follow up on right now, actually. So we'll have a look at any other kind of questions which we didn't touch on now, and then come back to you. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, for your attendance, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon. Okay, all the best, everyone. Okay.